and welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Rachel Langston. I'm an owner and craft educator here at Oak and Lamb. Today we're talking all about Cricut Design Space. Are there any fun updates you guys need to know about, or are you a Cricut beginner and this is your first look into the software and you want to know how to use it and what you need to know? Well, this is the video for you. Thanks so much for joining us, and before we get started, don't forget to click down below and subscribe to the channel. It takes 2 seconds and is completely free to you. Also, click that bell to get notified when more videos like this come out. You don't want to miss any of our amazing content. If you decide to buy a Cricut, it is a whole new world. There is a whole list of new terminology you need to master, an entire software you need to learn how to use, as well as the in and outs of the machine. There's a lot you need to know, and Cricut Design Space is by far the most complicated part of mastering your Cricut. That being said, this machine and this software, Cricut Design Space, is by far the most user-friendly software of computer-guided cutting machines. It is very user-friendly, very easy to use. So don't be overwhelmed whether you are brand spanking new and you want to learn how to use it, or again, like I mentioned, if you're a longtime Cricut user and just want to know if there's any updates on that software, this video will answer all of that for you. Okay, here we are in Cricut Design Space. So there has been a few updates the past few months that you might want to be aware of. Also, I have to mention that we are using the beta version of Cricut Design Space. Now, what does that mean? That means that if Cricut decides to try out something in Design Space, we, as being beta users, will get to see and use and try that out first before it's actually launched as an update to all Design Space applications out there. Which can be a blessing and a curse sometimes because it does present itself with a couple more bugs than usual. However, it's also kind of really cool to see what Cricut has up their sleeve and what we could be seeing as an official Cricut update later on. If you want to switch to using the beta version, all you have to do is come up here to this hamburger menu right here, click it, come all the way down here to Settings, click Settings, and we have the application experience selected of beta. Now you can choose live, that's what everyone is normally on, but if you do want to see what's new before it is new, we like the beta version. Now there are a couple of more customizations that you can have here, which is you can use the full grid, partial grid, or no grid, and of course you can change that to the metric system if you'd like to. You can add some defaults for these load types here, and you can turn on or off some notifications. So I do like that settings little category there for you. Now, Design Space can seem daunting. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to learn how to use every one of these buttons right off the bat. It's not a necessity for you guys to do. So, of course, there is New Project. This right here is the Upload button where you can upload your own SVGs or PNGs here in Design Space. We have quite a library here of cut files. If you have lots of cut files here, of course, you can add these to your canvas and click View. Or again, you can upload those cut files. They upload super easily. Here at Oak and Lamb, we do have hundreds of digital cut files that can be used with, Cricut or laser cutting or sublimation, printing, cuts, sewing, all kinds of great things. So Design Space itself, again, is very user-friendly. If you're a beginner, you will most likely be using more of like size and go images is what I like to call them, which means you're not really doing a lot of manipulating or color changing or, that sort of thing. You're not doing a lot of slicing, combining. You're just kind of picking a cut file, sizing it to your liking, and clicking Make It. So those are honestly great for beginners to learn how to do, is just super quick projects like that will allow you guys to get some good easy wins and grow your confidence. Now, a couple of things we can share with you here. That is our upload button. Like I mentioned, that's our new button. We never use templates. I'm just going to go through this as I would as a designer and a crafter and a teacher. I never use templates, so I wouldn't use that. We don't have Cricut access, of course, so we don't use projects at all. We just love to use oak and lamb cut files. Shapes is something we do use often, and here in shapes will also be your score line. So if you're ever looking for a score line, you do have that here, but you have a lot of basic shapes to choose from. These are great to unite or weld into different types of shapes. Like if I took a square and a triangle here, and I make our triangle a bit bigger, you can unlock this size ratio right up here, this little lock button, and that will allow you to move this freely instead of it being like a locked height and width. And you can actually manipulate this a little bit. And this, you can select both of these, and all I did was click and drag with my mouse. You can tell that more than one layer is selected in Design Space when they are a different color. If I was just to select one, you'd see one. But if I select them both will be, of course, highlighted. Now I'm going to go down here to Combine, and you can click Weld or Unite. These are basically the exact same thing, except Weld is permanent and Unite you can undo. So if I wanted to weld these together into one shape and never change them again, I would click Weld. But if I might want to change the size of my square or my triangle, you would want to click Unite. So really completely up to you. I'm going to click Unite, and that's going to make that into one solid image here to be like a little house or something like that. Now, let's do another example. I'm going to grab another basic shape. Let's get another square here. Let's make this square red. So if I select a layer, this is your layers panel. Each little layer, of course, is a piece of a cut file. Some cut files are 1 layer, some are 10 layers. It just depends on the SVG that you are importing and using. Now, this is the one we have selected. We can tell it's selected here in Design Space. I'm going to change the color up here to pink. Now I'm going to unlock the size ratio so that I can move this independently. And let's make a little door for our house. Okay, just like that. And let's say I wanted this door to be cut out of our house. Well, what do? We're going to take both of these, all 3 of these rather, because these 2 were united into one. And now I'm going to click Combine. And you can either subtract or exclude. Both of these kind of does the same thing, so I can do that. Or I'm going to use my great little undo button here. And instead of clicking subtract, I'm going to select exclude. And they do basically the same thing there. And I know all of these can get a bit confusing because this was a relatively new update here in Design Space, so I totally understand if it's going to take you guys a while to get the hang of all of that type of new things in Design Space. We use slice a lot, we attach things, we flatten things. Now you'd want to flatten something if you were going to make it like a print and cut. Like if we wanted to make this a print and cut, one thing that we would need to do first is add an offset. Now the reason we would want to add an offset is because if we were to print this and cut this out, the Cricut would cut each individual letter, each individual little area of this, and we don't want that. A great way to see what this would cut out, in my opinion, is to take it, make it nice and big. And if I went from basic cut up here to operation, this is where you can drop down basic cut, and let's change this to pen. Every single thing you see is what the Cricut would cut out. Now that's not what we want. So we don't want the Cricut to cut all this out. That would be a lot for a print and cut. That's kind of not the point of a print and cut either. So what we're going to do is add an offset to this. So this is our offset button. And it's going to automatically show us an offset with these blue lines here in Design Space. So if you like that offset, or if you want to make it a little smaller, we're going to click Apply. And it's going to apply this offset here. Now you see these little areas where the offset is not filled in. I want to fill those in. The easiest way that you guys can do that is to come down here to Contour. Now this is where you can remove or add pieces of your SVG. So I'm going to click that. And I don't want any of these little areas. I want them all to be filled in. So I can simply click Hide All Contours, which is super easy. Now when I click out, all of that is right where I want it. Now, I need to change the offset color because our printer, of course, is going to be printing on white paper or white sticker paper or printable vinyl or whatever. So I'm going to take that, make sure it's selected, go back up to where I showed you how to change your colors first, and I'm going to click white. Now, with both of these white, it might be a little hard to see, so you might say, I wish I could change the color of my canvas. You can change the color of your canvas. The way that you can do that is by going down here, right here, to blank canvas, and you click that. Now, when you click that, all of your little options up here will all be grayed out except for this one right here that says color. You can click color, and right here you can change the color of your canvas to whatever you want. Let's just change it to like a lighter gray like that. Okay, now just a little tidbit. You can also remove the grid lines if you want to. You can come up here to the X and Y axis, and right here in the corner, if you click once, you can remove all of your grids. If you click one more time after that, you can add your large grids, and then if you click another time, you can add your small grids back. So no grids, some grids, all grids. So isn't that cool as well? Okay, now with our offset white, what you're going to want to do is to what's called flatten this image. This is what's going to take a basic cut. So if I take this and select both right here, you can see under operation that says basic cut. I'm going to be able to take this SVG from a basic cut to a print and cut in one fell swoop, one press of the button. So I have both of those selected. Now watch the layers panel. I'm going to come down here and click flatten. And it has changed it to a print and cut image. And now if I click this here, you can see my operation is print and cut instead of basic cut. So now with the print and cut, this is going to cut right where I want it to. The Cricut will cut around my offset right here, just as I would want. Now if this is a print and cut, you can simply size it and then print it and cut it just as you would. But if you wanted to make this kind of bigger, let's make this a little bit bigger. Oh, do you see what happens here? Over here on the layers panel, you see this little like exclamation point. This is a warning because I have made my print and cut too large. Unfortunately, there are size restrictions with Cricut Print and Cut. You can only currently print and cut 6.75 by 9.25, which is so sad. So let's say I wanted to cut this out of printable vinyl. Well, most printable vinyls are sold as 8.5 by 11 inches because, of course, it has to fit in your printer, and most standard printers, or excuse me, pretty much all standard printers, are 8.5 by 11. So if I were to click this little exclamation point, it would tell me it is too large, and it says you can change the paper size. Well, if you click this, you're able to click different paper sizes, which is 8.3 by 11.7, but the problem with A4 size paper is you're just not going to find it to be able to be sent through a regular standard printer. So I think Cricut was like trying to throw us a bone here for a little bit larger print and cut, but honestly, there's just no way for a standard printer to print like that. So unless you have a larger printer and buy printable vinyl that has been made that size, there's really no point. So the size restriction pretty much stays the same at 6.75 by 9.25. Okay, so now I'm just going to delete that, and let's talk about text for a little bit. I'm going to click text, and it's going to open up a text box for me and automatically say text. And what's funny is in another video, I was using a font, and that font was saved as my last used font, so it's allowing us to, it's like importing the same font here for us default. So this says text, of course, let's just change it to hello. And if I wanted to change this font, you can just go up here to fonts. You can browse all fonts. Fun fact, if you don't have Cricut Access, which of course we don't really recommend, there's really just no point in it, we love to use system fonts. System fonts is where all of the fonts that you guys upload will be. And then you can also click recent. So if you have recently used some fonts, Cricut Design Space will actually remember the fonts that you use, which is awesome. So this one says hello, which is gorgeous. Now, one thing I want to tell you guys about fonts, specifically about cursive fonts, is you always, always, always have to unite or weld your fonts. Now, what I mean by that is, Each individual letter is going to cut out by itself if you don't do that. Now, unite or weld makes it into one solid image. So here is an example. If I were to go up here to operation and switch this from basic cut to pen, this is a great visualization. Let me change my matte color back to white. Now you can see it really well. Let's remove these as well. So you can see all of these little lines. This H that's kind of protruding into that E and that E that's protruding into my L, that is all going to be cut out by the Cricut. Now if I were to take this, go down here to combine and click unite, watch what happens. All of those just kind of melt into each other. They just weld into one solid image so that your Cricut will cut this as one, one word instead of each individual letter. Now, I love showing you guys visualizations like that. I'm going to switch that back to basic cut so you can just go ahead, go through there and make sure to cut, weed it out, and have success. Another thing that you can do with fonts is take them, and let's find another font here that we like. Let's do this font. And you can go here to curve, and you can curve your text if you want to, just to make it, a little bit fun. Now there's a lot of different things like that you can do in Design Space with, letter spacing and line spacing. There's just a lot to do with fonts, which is super fun. It adds a really fun level of you being able to customize things if you would like. So that's super fun as well. And then if you wanted to let's just say add text to the bottom there, like hello there friend or something like that. A really easy thing to do is to come over here to duplicate, because you do have your ungroup, duplicate, and delete option here. You can click duplicate, pop this down here, and then edit this text box. I just double click and click friend, and instead of curving this way, let's curve this way, like that. I don't know, this is just an example. And let's say we want to go ahead and make this. So if we click make it, well, you see our design is not where we wanted it. This friend should be right there. Well, what happened is you don't have these attached. Now, attach is like a paper clip. It holds everything where you want it. Now, you might be wondering, what does group do? So if I click group, you can see here on the mat, it's going to keep everything where I want it. If I click off and click back on it, it's going to keep things where I want it. But if I click make it, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to scooch it over and not be where I want it. That's when you would want to use attach instead of group. Attach, if I click it right here, again, it's like a paper clip. So group will allow things to stay together just on the mat, whereas attach will keep things together even if I send it over to the mat. So there you can see hello there friend is right where we need it to be, which is great. Now honestly guys, I could go on and on for probably hours teaching you guys some in and outs of Design Space and how to master it and manipulate it and use it for different things. Or I could recommend that you guys join Oak and Lamb and grab our free course, which is our O&L Cricut Academy. It is absolutely phenomenal. We have a printable handbook, which I will show you guys here in a minute, and so many incredible videos to help you master your machine if you're a beginner. So we do have a welcome video where, of course, we tell you guys who we are, what we do, what our goal is with the course. You can learn how to set up your Cricut. There is a Design Space overview, guys. This training is over 40 minutes long. It is incredible. It's a very slow-paced, easy to understand, extremely detailed Design Space overview. We have Cricut terminology you need to know, so if I say things like weeding or calibration or burnishing or anything like that, and those are just gibberish to you, there is a whole language for Cricut, and knowing that language is amazing. So you can make sure to memorize that awesome terminology. You can learn how to download files and fonts. We have a video all about supplies that you need as a Cricut beginner, so we won't have you spending $1,000 on a bunch of stuff you might not use. This is a really great baseline list and video of different products that we recommend. A lot of people are confused on vinyl types and differences, so we have trainings all about that. I mean, it can be daunting. There's heat transfer vinyl, regular adhesive vinyl. There's vinyl that's said to be permanent. There's vinyl that's said to be a premium outdoor vinyl. I mean, there's so many different types of vinyl and HTV out there, so knowing the differences and when and where to use them is super important. We go through and explain all the blades, tools, and mats you need as a Cricut owner, no matter what Cricut you have. Then we break down how to use regular adhesive vinyl, how to use HTV. We go through how to paper craft if you've never paper crafted, or if you want to do some paper crafting along the way. Super great detailed tutorial. How to write and draw with your Cricut, so using pens for amazing different things, writing sentiments in cards, for instance, or you know, making DIY coloring pages for your kids. There's a lot of different things you can do writing and drawing. Then we go into a little bit more detail. If you want to layer adhesive vinyl or layer HTV, those have separate, very different processes, so of course we break that down. If you want to know how to print and cut, the in and outs of print and cut, it's so easy to do, so we do share with you how to print and cut. Then we dive into printable vinyl, printable HTV to get the most out of your machine, how to create a stencil for so many different types of projects. If you want to use paint with wood or etching cream or ferric acid or anything like that, you do need a good stencil, so we go through that. We even go through how to clean your mat, so that is a really great hack to save a lot of money, especially as a Cricut beginner. You could go through a lot of mats. And then how to calibrate your machine is something that not a lot of Cricut owners know that you need to do if your print and cut images are not coming out right, or your Cricut is just not cutting as it should. Your machine needs to be calibrated periodically, and if you don't know how to do that, we can teach you. We want to make you confident using your Cricut. And I told you I would show you the handbook, and here it is. It is incredible. Every Cricut beginner needs this oak and lamb handbook. It is something you'll want to bind and laminate and put close to your craft space. It is full of such good information. We have a blade glossary showing every blade, what it's intended for, what its uses are, some great projects to inspire you. We have terminology, so I told you learning Cricut's like a whole new language. There's so many great terms that you guys need to master and know that will really help you in your Cricketing journey. There's also a great shortcut cheat sheet, so if you want to learn Design Space shortcuts for your keyboard, that is super easy and great to know, especially when you get into manipulating more cut files and designing. It's super, super easy to just click your keys and be done with it. Also, we have a great little printout on when to use which mat. If you're a Cricut beginner, this is something a lot of people make a mistake on, and that is which mat to use when and what mat is used for which material. We have that all laid out. We add some great tips for you, and then on the back we even have our QR codes for some of our most loved products, which would be the Cricut Caddy, our Lynn Lily hot glue gun, and our Amazon storefront in general. Our Cricut Caddy is absolutely adorable. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this. It's like our hub. It's like a Cricut hub. It has everything that we need in it. The colors are adorable. We have all of our adaptive tools, all of our weeding tools and cutting tools and measuring tapes. I mean, everything is in this thing. We absolutely adore it. And of course, you guys know how much we love our Lynn Lily glue gun. It is a high temperature mini hot glue gun that is, number one, adorable. It can be corded or cordless. It's amazing. We love it. But if you're a Cricut beginner, you have to have this great O&L Cricut Academy. Click the very first link down below to see how you can join Oak and Lamb for only $9.99 to be able to get your hands on this incredible course and this workbook so you can master your Cricut super quickly. And also, by joining, you do get access to our member-only Facebook group where you can get inspired and ask questions and help like-minded crafters like yourself. We also have a back library of hundreds of amazing cut files for use with your machine. We're all with free commercial use licensing, which is something that is not offered in a lot of other memberships. So definitely check out Oak and Lamb. You will be glad you did. We can't wait to welcome you as a member of our flock today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you another day in another video.